after the United States signed an executive order on H-1B visas restriction after Australia scrapping a visa program, it's yet another big blow for the Indian techies because this time round it's coming from New Zealand, which is introducing tougher requirement for skilled overseas worker as the nation tries to control immigration. US and New Zealand are not the only countries that have recently imposed visa curbs. As I mentioned, the United Kingdom as well had already hiked up the fees for tech visas. Singapore had last year tightened rules, squeezing the flow of Indian techies to a mere trickle. And Australia scrapped a popular visa program for workers as well, which has impacted around 35,000 Indian techies. And now we're getting to know that even New Zealand has tweaked the visa norms. Let me go across to India. Today is Gaurav Sawant, who is now joining us at the moment. So Kiwis first is what New Zealand wants, Gaurav. And that's the message they're sending out. What happens now to the Indian skilled labor force? How much will be the impact?
At this point of time, New Zealand's immigration minister has made a statement saying all their policies, and especially when it comes to high-skilled labor, will be New Zealand first. But there still is avenue and scope for highly skilled, employees. Let's take a look at this entire big picture, Devina. United States has put a cap on H-1B visas, but yesterday the Ministry of External Affairs came out very clearly and said that the cap remains at 65,000 H-1B visas. Now this cap came in 2004 and remains in place. As far as Australia is concerned, Australia has also said Australia first, but the 457 rule, the application only applies to semi-skilled or unskilled workers as far as high-skilled workers are concerned. Now Australia is also saying that high-skilled workers or India, the impact will be negligible, which is what the Ministry of External Affairs is also saying at that point of time. At the same time saying they're engaged with all the stakeholders to study the impact even further. What this impacts, from what sources tell India today, are semi-skilled workers or people who go overseas and work, especially in Australia and New Zealand, perhaps as chefs or plumbers or those kinds of jobs, which can be done even by locals. When it comes to highly skilled IT sector, India's requirement will still remain. At least that is what is the government contention at this point of time.
All right. What we also know, Gaurav, is how the slabs have been laid. So anybody who's earning, according to the New Zealand new rules that are being proposed, 22 lakhs, they are skilled labours, which is high skill. Then if they're earning about 33 lakh Indian rupees, they will be very, very skilled labour. So that's the class that they're not asking to be targeted. But as you mentioned, it's a low skill class that's being targeted. 3 years is what they're willing to give as a visa extension for them. But Gaurav, will there be any efforts from the Indian government to take the other countries on board, as well as we're seeing more and more protectionist regimes around us?
So the government yesterday said that their engagement with all the stakeholders is on. As far as the United States is concerned, as far as Australia is concerned, they are in touch with the governments. They're studying the impact of decisions that are being taken. But remember, these are decisions taken by sovereign states. United States says US first, Australia says Australians first, and now New Zealand saying New Zealand first. So in such an environment, it remains to be seen, what the impact will be on all the stakeholders across the world. It's not just India specific. As far as the US is concerned, the 65,000 cap on H-1B visas remains from 2004 till date. Does this change in the times to come is the big question. So as of now, later this afternoon, the Ministry of External Affairs will have a briefing and we'll have more on the story.
All right, Gaurav, thanks for joining us. All the skilled labours going from India now. Could we see a reverse brain drain with India first as a mandate now? Let's wait and watch how this impacts the Indian labour abroad, with more countries now joining in the protectionist voices of curbing the immigration. Getting some breaking news.